Courageous Nation.
Hey guys, what's up? Michael Anthony here with the Courageous Nation podcast. So glad that you're joining me today. Welcome to the episode that's going to change your life. You can change your life by changing your relationships. There are definitely people in your life that you need to get out of your life. And you need to learn how to also balance with wisdom that decision of when do you need to draw the line and to tell people in your life, you can't do that anymore. You don't have a place in my inner circle. And when do you need to be gracious? Depending on what personality type you have, you may struggle with this in one extreme or the other. There are certain of us who have a really easy time saying no to people and saying, listen, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. But there are others of us where we enable people and we give people a place in our lives that they should not have. There's no area of life, not a single area of life that we can safely separate from relationships. Now, you might be behind a desk all day long. You might be holed up someplace doing a tech job, but eventually, sooner or later, you're going to have to step away and interact with other people. In fact, it's the quality of the relationships that we have in life or the lack of the quality of relationships that we have in life that determines everything. It determines everything about your satisfaction, your enjoyment, your fulfillment, and your success. It is about success. It really is about success in every single area of your life. If you don't get this area of relationships down, if you don't understand how and when to say no to people and the kind of people that you should be looking for in your life is going to suck. And the whole point is to make sure that you're doing everything that you can in your life, that you're being intentional with the only life, it's the only life you're ever going to have this side of eternity. You're being intentional with your life so that you're moving from where you are to where you want to be, where you need to be. You hear me talking about this again and again and again and again. The whole idea of future you. Future you is that version of yourself that is the new and improved version. And you should always be looking for ways that you can improve yourself. You can improve the totality of your life. And one of the fundamental ways that you can do this is by improving your relationships. If you improve your relationships, if you care more intentionally, if you attend to the garden of your relationships, I absolutely guarantee not only will your relationships flourish, but every area of your life is going to flourish. Let's talk about a relationship detox. When we detox our bodies, for example, many of you know that I'm really into fitness and nutrition, and I'm getting more and more involved in that, more and more interested in that as I understand the connection between the body and the mind. And if you've been following and listening, you're improving and you're developing in this regard as well. This idea of a detox, when we do a detox, we are removing the toxins from our bodies. We're getting rid of them. We're drinking clean water, filtered water. We're eating clean foods as close to the natural state as possible, which means not highly processed, not overly cooked. The more raw a food is, the closer a food is to its natural state where it's not processed and not overcooked. You not only have the benefit of all of the vitamins that are there and all of the nutrients and the minerals that are there, but also, this is something that's often overlooked. The enzymes often get overlooked in the whole discussion about the foods that we eat and nutrition. It's not about dieting. It's about eating the right nutrition. Get the word diet out of your vocabulary and insert the word nutrition. When you eat foods that are close to their natural state, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, you're not only getting the vitamins and the minerals, you're also getting the enzymes. And enzymes are part of what your body needs in addition to vitamins and minerals. Enzymes are also fundamentally important for your body to be able to rebuild, replenish, and refresh itself. And it's no different in regard to the relationships in your life. You probably have at least one person, maybe more, depending on that personality style that you had that I talked about just a moment ago. You probably have at least one or maybe more people in your life that you need to detox from. You need to sever that relationship completely, or you need to drastically reduce the the amount of time that you're spending with that person. And I get it. It can be difficult to know when and how to do it. I want you to first and foremost think about this. Maybe close your eyes. Don't do it if you're driving. Close your eyes and think for a moment, who is a person in my life, or perhaps more than one person will come into your mind, at my workplace, maybe in my immediate family, maybe in my extended family, my circle of friends, my neighbors, my coworkers. Think about the people in your life. Think about an individual, or maybe more than one individual. Typically, when you begin to think about one person, your mind begins to go ahead of you, and you can have these floodgates opening up where you can say, boy, there's not just one person, there's more than one person. And your mind thinks categorically. And that's why I say think about your immediate family, your extended family, your friends, your coworkers, and your neighbors. That helps you think about things categorically. Think about an individual who just sucks the life out of you, who is negative to a fault. An individual who has issues with their character, issues with their mouth, issues with their habits that are so destructive. I'm talking about somebody who has traits that are so destructive that you jeopardize your own progress by continuing to be around them. This is an individual or individuals who have traits that are so significantly flawed, so fundamentally and habitually flawed, that if you continue to associate with them, it's not just that they're going to bring you down, it's that they're going to absolutely wreck your life. Now, you could be one of these people who is an enabler, and you have a hard time saying no to people. Or you could be a person who has not a difficult time at all. I want to bring to your attention two particular scriptures, two particular passages of the Bible, and you might say to yourself, wait a second, don't get religious on me. Listen, I'm not getting religious, I'm getting spiritual on you. There's a difference between being religious and being spiritual. And the difference is that a spiritual person, a genuinely spiritual person who heeds the words of Jesus Christ, is a person whose entire life, their entire being is going to fundamentally improve. Now, whether or not you agree with that or not, I will not hold that against you. All I ask is listen to me. Hear me out for a second here. In Mark chapter 12, they come to Jesus and they ask him, the experts, the religious people, not the spiritual people, the religious people come to Jesus and they say, hey, listen, what's the greatest of all the commandments? We've got 613 laws in Judaism, do's and don'ts, things we should do, things that we shouldn't do. Which of these is the greatest of all the commandments? And Jesus cuts right to the chase and he says, the greatest of all these is to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself. Love God and to love your neighbor as yourself. You can look at this in Mark chapter 12 for yourself. So from that, we understand the importance of loving your neighbor as yourself. Treat other people. This is the golden rule, which has been tarnished and forgotten about in modern times. And we need to polish that thing up again by rediscovering it. The importance of loving your neighbor as yourself. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. So that's presented right here in Scripture. And we always know that Scripture does not contradict itself. It interprets itself. So the best commentary on the Bible is the Bible. Here we have love your neighbor as yourself. Love God, love your neighbor. In fact, it's not possible to love God without loving people. The way we love God is demonstrated by and authenticated by how we love people. And so if you want to know whether or not you love God, whether or not somebody else loves God, you look at how they treat people. That tells you pretty much everything you need to know. How you're treating people has everything to do with how you're treating God. But we need to balance that with what Jesus also teaches in Matthew chapter 7, when he says, do not give to dogs what is sacred. Do not cast your pearls before swine. This idea for a Jew of associating with a pig would be something that would completely defile them ceremonially, religiously. And so Jesus is speaking the language of a Jew to identify with a Jew, to help them understand that in the same way you would not defile yourself by being around a pig, you wouldn't defile yourself by giving something that's sacred, something that's precious to somebody who's not going to appreciate it. So which one of these scriptures should have greater importance? The answer is neither. They are both fundamentally important. You do not diminish the whole teaching of loving your neighbor as yourself, the golden rule, by applying the principle of not casting your pearls before swine. And you don't also have a hard-nosed approach with the whole principle of Matthew chapter 7, not casting your pearls before swine, by overemphasizing Mark chapter 12, loving your neighbor as yourself. When they dovetail together, and they're meant to dovetail together, it helps you understand the importance of growing in and walking in wisdom in your relationships. Very, very strategically important. Remember how you're treating the people in your life and how you're allowing people to treat you in life is going to have everything to do with your success and your satisfaction in every area of life. Relationships, your spiritual life, your health and your fitness, your finances, your career, your education, and your rest and your recreation. The 7 areas of life that you hear me talking about again and again and again and again. The whole idea is that you're supposed to be growing in wisdom in the course of your life. You're supposed to be growing in knowledge. These are not scriptures that you immediately know how to apply unless you apply them next to each other throughout the course of your life. So what do you do when somebody is toxic in your life? Somebody has fundamental flaws in their life. They say things that are continually putting you down. Maybe they're abusive, not just physically, but maybe verbally, maybe emotionally. There's emotional abuse, there's physical abuse, there's verbal abuse, there's all kinds of abuse, sexual abuse. Maybe there's somebody in your life who is an extreme person in this regard. The first thing you need to do is love that person as you love yourself and confront them. And maybe you have difficulty confronting people, but you need to grow up. You need to grow up. You need to mature. You need to learn how to confront people and stop being codependent. And that might mean enlisting the help of a sibling, enlisting the help of a spouse, maybe your spouse, to come alongside and help you talk to a good friend or an extended family member. It might mean that you need to go and get a friend to help you address a family member. The point is this: you're either going to stay where you are in life and stagnate and allow yourself to keep getting what you've been getting because you keep doing what you've been doing, or you're going to fundamentally change. You're going to fundamentally do different things to get different results. What I want to help you understand is that Matthew 7, do not cast your pearls before swine, is for you. You've got to be careful in your life. You've got to be careful that you're not pouring yourself out in front of, in the close proximity, in close relationship with somebody who's abusive, who's neglectful, who's not going to appreciate who you are and what you want to contribute in the course of your life and who you want to be. With the passage of time, we all begin to realize that life is about maturing. Life is about improving. Life really is about future you, moving from the person you are today to the person you need to be, the person you want to be. You've got to be intentional about that. And you've got to be more committed to that growth in your life than anybody else, because if you're not committed to that kind of growth in your own life, don't expect somebody else to be committed. You can't expect somebody to respect you and to have the same level of commitment to your own self-development if you don't have that commitment, if you're not committed. So get serious. Listen, get serious about developing into that person that you really need to become. You owe it to God, and you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to all the people around you. You owe it to all of the people around you. You need to be committed to your own personal development. And one of the ways that you need to do that is through a relationship detox, where you either say to somebody, don't do it with texting unless that person really is the lowest of the low of the low. After you have exhausted, you've made it your ambition to sit down with them, to talk with them, first and foremost in person if you can. If you can't, then with another person in person. If you can't do that, then with a letter, a handwritten letter. If you can't do that, then I really suggest that you don't use email, and you certainly don't use texting. You've got to sit down with that person, with another person if you need to, and if you can't do that, write a letter. Because once you use electronic communication, once you do that, don't private message them, don't use a text, don't send an email. Once you do that, listen, email is not a conflict resolution tool. Neither is texting or direct messaging. It's a conflict inflammation tool. And you're just going to get yourself into this infinite spiral down that's going to have you getting in a back and forth dialogue that's not going to lead anywhere. So that's why I recommend meeting in person. And if you can't do it just one-on-one, get somebody else to do it with you. Try to do all that you can to help that other person recognize their bad behavior, their toxic behavior that is causing you to have tremendous difficulty, not only in your relationship with them, but it's also spilling over into other areas of your life. And once you've exhausted that method by talking to them personally or by writing them a letter, if there's no change, if there's no desire for change, if there's no effort, and you've got to be patient with people, love your neighbor as yourself. This is how these scriptures go together. This approach to life in wisdom goes together. If you're not seeing any change over a period of time, then you are within your rights to say, you know what, I need to pull away from this relationship. And you don't need to necessarily tell them, I need to detox. You don't need to do that because you can just cause irreparable damage to the relationship if you use words like that. But you can say, listen, I need some distance between us so that you can take seriously what I have shared with you about your conduct, your behavior, that's not only bringing me down, but it's probably bringing other people down as well. And if you don't see a change after that, sometimes it's within your right and within your wisdom to permanently detach from that person and that relationship. This is what I mean when I say relationship detox. Who are the people that are vampires? They're sucking the life out of you. Who are the people that are negative naysayers? They have terrible, stinking thinking, and it continues to come out of their mouth, right? Jesus said, out of the overflow of the mouth, the heart speaks. You can tell what's in a person's heart by what comes out of their mouth. Listen, here's what you need to understand. If you don't detox relationally from other people, what's going to happen is that your whole life can be infected by their toxicity. Your way of thinking, your way of living, your way of feeling intimidated continually and constantly, feeling like you're walking around on eggshells. This is why you owe it to that person to love them as you want to be loved, to love your neighbor as yourself and bring to their attention in a way that you would want it to be brought to your attention if you needed to have something addressed in your own life. Do it in that way. Do it in that way so that they have the opportunity to change. This is especially a sensitive issue when you're dealing with an immediate family member. Some people have used a certain type of abuse, you can fill in the blank any way you like, as an excuse for getting a separation or a legal separation or a divorce in their relationship prematurely. Because some people are looking for a way out and they're looking for the quickest way out. They're not looking for a relationship reconciliation. So be careful that you're not just picking out the quickest solution out, the easiest way out for yourself, without really working on the relationship. I really, really want to emphasize that because divorce is a very serious thing. Separation is a very serious thing prior to divorce. And there's a progression in leading up to, say, a divorce. There needs to be a separation first for an opportunity, like a last chance opportunity to help somebody sometimes understand their toxicity, the toxicity of their actions, their behavior, and their character. But what I want to help you understand is that sometimes in the course of your life, it's not only beneficial, it's absolutely necessary. It's necessary to detox yourself relationally from another person or other people for your own mental health, your own spiritual health, your own physical health. Because these things, toxic relationships can have a direct effect on your physical well-being. So don't neglect the importance of having healthy relationships in your life, and don't belittle the significance of somebody being in your life who might be such a downer that they are preventing you from reaching your greatest potential for God's glory and for your benefit and the benefit of other people. Now, you're saying to yourself, Mike, that sounds like just an excuse to not do the hard work and just to make decisions in my life that just cut people off. Listen, if you're cutting people off without taking the steps that I talked about, you're being immature, not mature. You're being selfish, not selfless. You are not loving your neighbor as yourself. At the same time, if you're continuing to be generous and giving somebody access to you that does not deserve having access to you, then you're violating what Jesus said about casting your pearls, your treasure, before swine. People who are going to trample on who you are, what you have to offer, and not appreciate who you are and what you have to offer. Listen, if you're going to love your neighbor as yourself, you also need to love yourself. But self-love, biblically speaking, is not selfish love. It is selfless love, where it's a mature perspective where you understand you are created in the image of God just like everybody else. And you understand the importance of having a respect for the person that God made you into, and for treating yourself with respect as you treat other people with respect. So I hope I've made myself pretty clear. If I'm not clear and you need some clarification on that, you can direct message me on Instagram, which is Michael Anthony Official. Direct message me. Who knows, that might even lead to a follow-up episode where I make things clearer. Hey, listen, I'd like to bless you today with a copy of your very own Legacy Blueprint. Go to CourageMatters.com. You get lifetime videos that'll teach and train you. If you've liked anything that I've said today, you will absolutely love your very own Legacy Blueprint. This is the life planner with the videos that you wish you had years ago. Better late than never. Get your Legacy Blueprint now. Use coupon code GIVEME30 in your shopping cart. You'll get 30% off as long as we have a supply. And by the way, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. If you don't love it, return it. Nobody's returned it yet. You know why? Because it's helping people change and transform. Imagine how you will feel when you get a grip on relationships, when your relationships improve dramatically. Every area of your life is going to change dramatically. And don't forget to text the word courage to 24365. Text the word courage right now to 24365, and you'll be part of the Courageous Nation. And anytime I drop something new, you will be among the first to hear. And that's going to help you move from where you are to where you want to be. It's going to help you develop courage as your new way of life so that you unleash your potential. That's all I have for this episode. In the meantime, this is Michael Anthony encouraging you to keep looking up. There's no place else worth looking, and keep moving forward.